Drake 12, everybody, back on the show by popular demand. Yeah, not really, but I brought him back anyway because it's fun sometimes. Which side of that wager do you want, Drake? National title for the Big 12 for the first time since 2005-06 season in the form of the Texas Longhorns. Does somebody buck that trend by 2030?
I will give you this. It is much more likely between 2025 and 2035 than it was between 2015 and 2025 or 2010 and 2020, based on how college football has evened itself out. Here's why it will not happen, and there is effectively nothing the Big 12 can do about this. The way the college football playoff format is about to change is going to so heavily favor the SEC and the Big Ten, it will, in essence, cut out the chance the Big 12 or the ACC or anybody else has to win a national championship. That is the one reason that I cannot confirm or confidently say yes, because if we go to this proposed 4-4, 2-2, 1, whatever it's going to be model, what it will do is it will have 4 SEC, 4 Big Ten, and then those 3 at-large bids will most likely be SEC and Big Ten. You could see as many as 6 or 7 from one.
Well, but if it's 4-4, 2-2, 1-1, the SEC, ACC automatically get 2 each, and there's only 1 at-large, which we'll just call the Notre Dame slot.
Right, we're talking 16, though. There's a possibility of 14, possibly 16.
Right.
I do think they'll eventually err on the side of 16 because the idea of just 2 teams getting a bye seems a little too funky for even my taste as someone who loves funky stuff. With that being the case, though, I believe revenue sharing with Texas Tech and a Baylor and a BYU committing to that, and with the fact that NIL right now is huge on the list of the Matador Club at Texas Tech, and then BYU has the owner of the Utah Hockey Club doling out money to the university to go to basketball and football, and the idea that in the Big 12, the transfer portal favors this conference more than I think anyone else, because a very good D2 player, a very good Division I FCS player might not want to make that SEC jump or feels confident to play behind a 5-star blue chip, so they go to Arizona State, a la Cam Scatterbo. And then that 4 or 5-star kid from Alabama who didn't get a lot of playing time his first 2 years. His NIL is not great. Where does he go? I don't want to go all the way down to the FCS level. I don't want to go to the MAC. I'm going to go to the Big 12. Some blue chip guys are 2 years removed from high school going to our conference. That's going to make the teams better. But when 6 schools from the SEC are in the college football playoff and 2 schools from the Big 12 are there, we're talking a conference that hasn't won a national championship since ever now, like Colorado in the 90s or BYU, like a member of the Big 12 who's still currently in the Big 12 national championship. No, we don't really do that. So why in the next 10 years would that change if 6 SEC schools are there and 2 Big 12 schools are there? I don't know if I cannot confidently say that's going to happen.
You forgot to say, I'm Drake Toll and I approve this message, because that was a wonderful dodge. If I was your campaign PR rep or press secretary prepping you,
you brought me on the show to
prepping you for the debate, I tell you what, I wouldn't have changed a single thing about that answer. I do agree with what you're saying.
Of course you agree. You thought that I was going to say something stupid. If the first time I didn't say that BYU is going to win 3 and Tech's going to win 2 and Arizona State's going to win 1. I said something smart.
That is a first. I can confirm that is a first for you on this program, and we owe Drake some applause for that remark. But here's what I wonder, Drake, is that Texas team runners up in the SEC a year ago, but went further than anyone else. Just I'll throw that out there.
Regular season SEC champion.
Regular season SEC champs. Arizona State was 1 play away from beating them. And do we think that's the best Arizona State could ever be? Because, yeah, they brought in some transfers, but they haven't stacked high-level recruiting classes. What if they do? What if BYU is able to stack some classes in there? Because the perception is, well, programs that have recruited at this level, they're just so far ahead of the Big 12. I get that in theory, because in theory it's there and it has been there for a long time. But to your point about the transfer portal, it's clearly different now, because there's no way on paper before the season. Can you imagine, Drake, before the 2024 season, going out on the air, your show, my show, whichever show here at the Locked On Network, and saying, yeah, Arizona State can go toe-to-toe with Texas, and at the end of the game, we'll be saying ASU should have won. You would have been ripped up and down by every single comment, every pundit that picked it, you would have been torn to shreds, and yet it happened. So I think there's an element of unpredictability here for the Big 12. But the thing that I can't get my head around, though, while I like that thought for the conference, which team is it? ASU's never recruited at that high a level, and the history tells us that you still have to at some point in time. Like, which teams would you think have the greatest high school recruiting potential that can elevate from what they are right now?
High school recruiting potential would be Baylor, Houston, TCU, and UCF, only because of the states and areas they're in. Texas, Lubbock is not Texas when it comes to high school recruiting. If you only took kids from Lubbock, your chances of winning a national championship are 0. If you only took kids from Houston or DFW, that completely flips, with the Austin area as well, if we're talking Baylor. So those are the schools, Orlando, this is also the case for UCF, those are the schools that high school-wise have the best shot. But are those the schools that have a legit chance to win a national championship in the next 10 years? Not who I would put my money on. I'm putting my money on Arizona State, who, like you said, just got as close as anybody in the Big 12 has since TCU, and TCU got close until they got as far away from any national championship team of all time. I would put a school like BYU there because of their new commitment to football via NIL and money revenue. Let's bring in 4- and 5-star kids. Let's stop winning with 2- and 3-stars from Logan or Ogden that we picked up and turned into all-pro athletes. Let's go do something different. I would have a BYU and Arizona State, maybe a Texas Tech, because, again, the money that's rolling in there as my front runners to win a national championship. It's hard to wrap my head around Kansas State going to a championship game, winning 2 or 3 games in the college football playoff, or Iowa State at this time, because they haven't been there. They haven't done it. They haven't been there. They haven't done it.
I think it depends on the path. You know,
sure, yeah.
Like, if you can have a year where you get a more favorable matchup, and maybe that can work out. But in theory, as I said before, it's something that I didn't used to think, well, now you got to be at this level. But if ASU got that close to a Texas program off a 3-9 season, I mean, do they even need to? I mean, Michigan won a national championship without, stacking top 5 classes. Like, you just need to maybe be in the top 15 range, I think, with the portal.
Sure, no doubt, sure. But here's the problem with this. I'm going to go right back to the original point. 6 of those schools are going to be SEC schools. There's no more like, oh, here's your path. No, now it's, hey, round 1, Georgia. Round 2, Ohio State. Round 3, Alabama. Good luck winning all 3 of those games. If you're basing it on talent, especially like Arizona State could have beaten Texas. Does that mean they beat Ohio State? Ooh, like now we're really talking a tough matchup. So to do that 3 games in a row with the SEC and the Big Ten being so heavily outweighing everybody else in the college football playoff is borderline impossible for a Big 12 school. The saving grace here, I don't even want to bring up a Big 12 school. I don't even want to bring up Arizona State. I'd bring up instead Clemson. And I do this a lot because 15 years ago, if you said same thing, in the next 10 years, Clemson will win 2 national championships, go to the college football playoff 5 times. Laughed out of the room. No, it's like 2009. You're like, no, they won't. They stink. And they just hired Dabo Swinney, who is unproven, and nobody. Like, this is Clemson. They're the best team in their own state. Steve Spurrier over there is the one going to BCS bowls, and now they're a national powerhouse. That's the example I would use. You're going to have to craft yourself a Clemson somewhere down the line. Does the Big 12 have that? They have inklings of that. They have schools that will, like Utah, that will insist upon themselves. But will they actually be able to do it?
Insist upon itself.
Will they actually be able to do it in the college football playoff? That's a different conversation because of the way the SEC and the Big Ten are bullying themselves into 10 combined schools being there.
I hope all of you understand what we just referred to, because it's one of the most iconic TV sitcom scenes that there has ever been. Drake 12, maybe the most iconic Big 12 podcaster that there has ever been, for better or worse. Nice hair. Ooh, boy, is that bad.
Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is exactly where I go when the game tips off in the NBA or college basketball. And as it's just getting started, there's no better place than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game. So even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet a fourth quarter comeback, stay in on the action. If you're looking for a bigger payout, same game parlays are also available live as well. I love FanDuel's betting feature because it keeps every moment exciting. I know, hey, my favorite team's down by 6 with 4 minutes to go. We're going to come back and win. If I miss my chance pregame to bet it, I can bet it live. Right now, new FanDuel customers get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com to join today. It's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.